It's 11 a.m. here in Seoul. I'm Usiyoung at the Arirang News Center. We're breaking into our regular programming to bring you a live briefing from the South Korean health authorities on the coronavirus outbreak here in the nation. In just a few moments, we're going to cut into the briefing at the Sejong Government Complex with simultaneous interpretation available for you in English. Yoon Tae-ho, the overall officer of disinfection at the Central Disaster Management Headquarters, will be briefing us on the coronavirus situation in South Korea. He's going to fill us in on the number of new infections as of midnight Tuesday, as well as the efforts that the government has been making in order to contain the transmissions. And this comes amid South Korea extending the current social distancing measures for another 2 weeks. Distancing level 2 will apply in Seoul and the surrounding regions, maintaining 1.5 across the country. It looks like Yoon Tae-ho has taken to the podium. Let's take a listen to what he has to say.
Let us now begin our regular briefing for March 16th, Tuesday. As of today midnight, we have a total of 345 new local infections and 18 new imported cases. And yesterday we had 3 more additional fatalities, and I extend my deepest condolences to the deceased and the members of the bereaved families. Today, we have carried out a meeting and we also aim to contain the further spread of the virus here in the metropolitan area. And we have been cooperating with the Seoul metropolitan city and the Gyeonggi-do province and Incheon city. And also we have the district offices of the Seoul metropolitan city in participation of today's meeting. And for the past week or so, we have a daily average domestic cases of about 400. And in the metropolitan area, we are seeing our daily tally hovering around 300 as well. And in the metropolitan area, we also see that it is also a very crucial region in containing the further spread of the virus, and it is very crucial for us to contain the virus spread here in the metropolitan area and lower the threshold to about 200 in order to contain the further spread nationwide. And looking at major cluster infections in the metropolitan area for the past week, we have seen a decline in the cluster infections from the religious centers as well as other nursing homes. However, we are also seeing a hike in the cluster infections stemming from our facilities as well. And we also have seen a prolonged fatigue in our quarantine measures, and we also see many people delaying their testings as well. And we also see one of the risk factor being the fact that people do not wear face masks properly and not full compliance to the quarantine measures. And we also have seen frequently that there have been cases where we could have prevented the transmissions if people with clinical symptoms were tested at an earlier pace. And we believe that such early testing could contain the transmission to about 23%. And looking at about 3,600 cases of the cluster infections, we see about 800 of these cases being related to those cases that had previous symptoms. And to this end, we are also cooperating with the Gyeonggi-do province government, and we are also containing the further spread of the virus in the community of foreign residents. And we are also to this end looking into the densely populated areas that employ many migrant workers. And until yesterday, we have carried out an extensive monitoring and inspection for the businesses that employ the migrant workers, and we have found about 318 of them that breached these measures, and we will be also carrying out massive testings as well. And in the metropolitan area, we have also been looking into that employ more than 10 migrant workers, and we are also planning to do our sample testings as well. And we also have completed about 96% of our sample testings and analysis, and we have 0 workplaces that have been detected with such COVID-19 samples. And if an office or a workplace is detected to have these virus samples, we will also carry a preemptive and also massive testing for that specific facility. And the Seoul Metropolitan City, together with the Gyeonggi Provincial Office, will also carry out all of the migrant workers and encourage them to get tested as soon as possible. And as for the migrant workers, they can get tested even though they do not show their visa status, and also they will not be faced with any discriminations, including deportation from the country, even though they are not registered legally here in South Korea. So we ask you to also encourage any migrant workers to get tested as soon as possible. Moreover, there are also people who have clinical symptoms but also avoided getting such tests, and we would like to note that they could transmit the virus to others. So we ask you to get tested as soon as possible if you have any suspected symptoms. Moreover, the Labor Ministry is also looking at the facilities and the dormitories, especially about 24,000 manufacturing facilities that employ over 5 migrant workers, and the Labor Ministry had instructed them to carry out such massive testings as well. And we also have looked into our 2,000 facilities, manufacturing facilities that have been categorized as high-risk factors, including that of textiles. And we will also make sure that any breaches of these measures will also be faced with stern legal measures. And the Seoul Metropolitan Government is also having a task force of emergency response teamed up with 55 personnel under 5 teams. And we will also look at the multi-use facilities that breach these measures, and they will carry out intensive and extensive monitoring and inspection going forward. And the Gyeonggi province will be looking into the manufacturing facilities as well as other multi-use other facilities that are prone to the virus infections, and they will be also having an intensive crackdown as well. And together with this, we will also be intensifying our testing capacity in the metropolitan area as well. And in Seoul metropolitan area, we will be looking at the multi-use facilities, including gardens, as well as restaurants, department stores, and traditional markets, and other multi-use facilities that could also have more increased crowdedness because of the spring weather. And the Seoul metropolitan area will also look at some of the public bathhouses, and they have carried out massive testing for about 400 public bathhouses out of the 820 businesses that have been registered. And in the Gyeonggi province, they also had a special electronic QR code system for these bathhouses as well. And they will also be looking at any facilities that have higher infection risks, including preschools, daycare center, construction sites, and so forth. And together with the massive testings for the residents and users for the nursing homes as well as the homeless shelters, we will be expanding these subjects and to contain the virus and also to identify the patients at an early pace. And today we also have reported and also shared some examples of good modelings for quarantine measures. And as for Seoul's Yeongdeung-Pogu district, they also have a new system of reporting any of these businesses that have a very good exemplary model as for compliance to quarantine measures. And they will also look at the massive testings for 70 call centers in the regions as well as 830 private academies in the area as well. And for instance, in the Hyundai department store that had been newly established in the Yeongdeung-Pogu district, that has been also at the which has been a hot potato recently. They say that they will be intensively looking into the cases and reduce the people's crowdedness in this department store as well. And in Gyeonggi-do Province, Ansan City, they will also carry out extensive testings for the migrant workers, and they will also open the makeshift testing centers for the migrant workers even during the early hours of the day. And all of the district offices are also making sure to contain the further spread of the virus, and we ask all of the residents in the capital area to also comply stringently with the quarantine measures while they carry out their daily routines. The government will also make sure that you can return to a state of normalcy as soon as possible, and we will exert our full effort to this end. Thank you very much.
That was a government briefing you just heard by health officials in Sejong City, filling us in on the COVID-19 situation in the country. Our live coverage ends here, but Arirang News will be back with updates on this and more at noon Korea time. Bye for now.